I would say that there is no one unique definition what it is digital accessibility, and sometimes we are speaking about digital accessibility and web accessibility. Here you can see the both more used definitions, which say that digital accessibility stated by the World Wide Web Consortium is the quality of digital products when they are accessible to everyone, also including those persons with disabilities. These products include the websites, mobile apps, and other online tools, and digital accessibility ensures that all users can access the same information regardless of their impairments. But it is very important to know what kind of impairments have your students and what are the main needs for them. Web accessibility is defined as designing websites and tools so people with disabilities can perceive, understand, navigate, and interact with web and contribute to it. And this definition is given by the Web Accessibility Initiative. Please, next slide. So, there are, I must say that there is no unique, once again, legal act which provides necessary knowledge about digital and web accessibility, but we can speak about three of them. The main important is the Web Accessibility Directive, which aims to ensure that public sector websites and mobile apps are accessible to all users, and member states must meet specific accessibility standards and allow users to access information and services online. And this means that each of countries must implement these directives through the legal acts. The newest one, the European Accessibility Act, which was enforced from 2019, sets accessibility requirements for certain products and services, including computers, smartphones, telephony services, and e-books. The general data protection regulation has no implications for the accessibility of websites and apps, and the web accessibility guidelines, which are more described in the module, provide technical specifications and recommendations for making websites accessible to all users, including also those who have different kind of disabilities. So the next slide is about the importance of understanding digital accessibility to students with different kind of disabilities. And some key reasons why it is important are equal opportunities, improved learning experiences, independence, assistive technology compatibility, broader reach, and compliance with legal requirements. Equal opportunities means that digital accessibility helps for playing the field and provide equal opportunities for learning and success by making educational content and resources accessible to all students regardless of their disabilities. It means that they have possibilities fully to participate in educational process and understand the same information as all others. Digital accessibility can provide students with disabilities with customized and interactive learning experiences and provide some kind of some kind of independence without support from side of other persons like assistants. For example, student with visual impairment learn materials without support of assistant who reads aloud the material, which is accessible, for example, digitally in the internet or some kind of internet places. So why it is important also means that assistive technology compatibility. It means that the materials are provided in such format where students using some assistive technologies can acquire the materials in the way which they are most useful for them. Broader is reach. It means that educators can prepare materials in such a way that they offer a content in multiple formats where everybody can read or listen or see the material which is provided by educator. And it's also important because when preparing materials in accessible way, educators can comply with legal requirements which every country sets in their national legislation. For example, in educational field. So, and please, next slide. Here is in the following slide, there will be an information about some types of disabilities for students and main barriers. What are these main types of disabilities? Which is very important to know because the students and people with disabilities are unique persons, and sometimes those disabilities and barriers very differ. And if educators don't know, they can't prepare the materials in accessible way. So, and here we provide some information and start with learning disabilities, which include a range of conditions that impact a student's ability to process information and learn new skills. For example, there are some diagnoses, let's say dyslexia, which means that students have difficulty with reading and language processing. Dyscalculia, which means that their students have difficulties with math skills, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, where students can't take their the attention for longer time. For example, if lectures takes 1.5 hours. The main barriers or challenges is in understanding or using language, which will manifest in reading, writing, and the mathematical work. It means that if students need to read huge text, it will be for those who have dyslexia very difficult, and accessible way could be the possibility to listen this material. The next type of disabilities is physical disabilities, which we know more in society because it's a visible disability, and it affects students mainly mobility and or motor functions, which may require physical accommodations. And some of these physical disabilities include cerebral palsy, disorder which affects muscle tone and movement possibilities, and could be very different, starting from using a wheelchair and then maybe still using and without any possibilities to walk, Or it could be also the use of some crutches, for example, where students can move themselves. The other very difficult physical disability is spina bifida, which is congenital disability affecting the spinal cord, and it's from very birth of the student. And at the same time, physical disabilities could be also as limb loss and limb differences, which influence not only their possibilities to move, which we mainly recognize, but also, for example, if it's upper limbs, that it means that students can't ride themselves, or it's difficult to use the modern ICT technologies. And these technologies must be accessible, for them. Those students with physical impairments may face barriers such as incompatible hardware, where devices like keyboards or mice not be suitable for students, and environmental barriers. Which may mean more, which we know more. It means that physical setup of learning spaces and equipment may not accommodate mobility devices or other assistive technologies. Another type of disability for students could be, next slide please, sensory disabilities, which affect a student's ability to receive and interpret sensory information. And these include visual impairments, like blindness or low vision, which requires alternative methods for assessing visual content, and hearing impairment, like deafness or hearing loss, which affects the development of speech and language skills. And for these students, common barriers include images, videos, and other visual content without text descriptions or audio alternatives. At the same time, it could be also the poor contrast and font sizes. For students with hearing impairments, the main barriers are videos and audio content without captions or transcripts. So another disability is developmental disabilities, which impact the students' cognitive development and can affect their ability to learn and function independently. And it may include challenges with social interaction, communication, and learning. And most common examples include autism spectrum disorders, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. For those students, main barriers are complex navigation and overwhelming design. When complex navigation, it means that complex or inconsistent navigation websites can be a challenging and overwhelming design. It's overly busy or flashy designs which can distract and make content challenges for focusing on. And the last one, which we can in addition to these previous disabilities, there is another one example. It means emotional and behavioral disabilities. Probably educators quite often know those students, because the emotional and behavioral disabilities impact the students' social and emotional well-being and the ability to regulate the behavior and the response to stressors. Such conditions include like anxious disorders, depression, and conduct disorders. When it's possible to speak with students, it's easier to ask them about the type of disabilities, and it will support the educators to better understand what kind of barriers they have and how to overcome them. So Just to overcome those barriers which have students with different kind of disabilities, we can use assistive aids and technologies, and it's described in the second chapter of the course. Please, next slide. And this chapter includes information about assistive aids and technologies, strategies for creating engaging and interactive digital teaching materials, some accessibility guidelines for ensuring that all students can access the materials, tips for organizing and structuring digital teaching materials effectively, and overview of digital tools and platforms for sharing teaching materials. So, please next slide, what are the main assistive technologies which can be used in the learning process? Here you can see the very short information with main common types of assistive technologies, and they include screen readers, which are the software programs that read text on a computer screen aloud to the user, and in such way supports students with visual impairment to be fully included in the educational process. Screen readers allow students with visual impairments to access digital content and also navigate websites, documents, and emails. The Braille display mainly supports students with who are visually impaired or blind, because it's this device consists of lot of pins that raise and fall to form Braille characters, and the Braille display is often used with a screen reader to provide a more comprehensive experience for the user. There are two other tools, speech-to-text software and text-to-speech software, which allows students also with physical disabilities or difficulties in writing to dictate their thoughts and have them converted into written text, or to have written text in possibility to hear aloud. And it helps students for dyslexia or motor impairments or learning disabilities. Other tool is augmentative and alternative communication devices, and those devices are used for students who have difficulty speaking or communicating verbally. So they can range from picture communication systems to electronic devices that generate speech based on input from the user. We quite often call them pictograms, which can be used in the learning process. Those pictograms can be arranged by the students themselves or support from assistants. High contrast settings helps individuals with visual impairments or color blindness. And this feature enhances the contrast between different visual elements on a screen, and it's very needed tool to make information accessible. The other one, which seems very simple, is using larger font, and it allows users to increase the text size on a computer screen or mobile device, and is handy for low vision individuals who have difficulty reading small fonts and users then themselves can adjust the font size to a comfortable level, which can help them to reduce eye strain and improve readability. Screen magnification is necessary for individuals with low vision or visual impairments, allowing them to magnify the screen comfortably as they can read the text which is on the screen. So for persons with physical difficulties or physical disabilities, adaptive keyboards and mouses are needed because then they can use the text which is on the screen, but without additional support. It means that these adaptive keyboards and mice include larger keys or the ergonomical designs, or alternative input methods such as head pointers or eye tracking devices if students have a very severe disability. And of course, there are others like special joysticks and mouse alternatives, or trackballs, eye tracking devices, and also some brain-computer interfaces for those who have very severe disabilities. So these are only just a few examples of many assistive technologies which are available for students with disabilities, and I must say that this availability for students depends on the country specific legislation and availability of such devices in each country. So next slide about strategies. Strategies. Okay, strategies we can speak later. So about the guidelines, previous slide, please, about guidelines. These guidelines, which are mentioned here on the slide, are essential for ensuring that all students, including with those with disabilities, can access the educational materials. And as I said, the accessibility of the educational material depends very lot on the type of disability, and here we mention also the some common, which include provision of alternative formats, such as audio recording, braille, or large print for visually impaired students or those with other print disabilities. What I would like to say before is that it's practically impossible to make all materials, to my opinion, to make all materials for accessible for all kind of disabilities, because in some ways, for example, if we make an audio recording for teaching materials, it will not be usable for students with hearing impairments. So there could be a possibility just to change if you know what kind of disability the exact student have. But in another case, these guidelines suggest to firstly to know your students, and then to provide these alternative formats. Another thing is ensuring the electronic documents and other materials which are compatible with screen readers and other assistive technologies. And later we will speak about tools which support or could support educators to know if they documents are compatible with such screen readers. So for many of students, it's very important to use clear and simple language and avoid jargon or dense technical language because it could be difficult for some students to understand. Mainly it's for students with learning and developmental disabilities. Provision of captions and transcripts for videos and multimedia content support students who are deaf or hard of reading, so they can, instead of listening or trying to listen what the educator says, they can read this text on the screens. And again, the materials or the screen must be organized in such a way that it allows students to participate in learning process without assistance from other person. So what is not maybe so necessary for educators for themselves, but for the whole educational institution is to ensure that the website of the educational institution and the online platforms which educators use are navigable and usable for students with disabilities. Including those who use screen readers or voice recognition software. Materials must be available in multiple formats, and modalities allow students to choose the best for them. It's in a case that the material is prepared for a larger part or for many students or the group of students. And what is more important is consultations with students with disabilities. You must in some kind support and encourage students themselves to speak about their disabilities and their needs and their best supportive materials or practices which can support students in understanding the materials. So for that reason, we provide in this learning course some tips for organizing and structuring digital teaching materials effectively. Next slide, please. Okay. About tips, I will speak without slide. So the simplest one tips are creation of folders and subfolders to structure the material or information, to organize digital teaching materials in folders and subfolders based on subject, topic, or lesson, and it will make it easier to locate specific resources when needed, not only for students but also for educators.